This is episode 277 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome back to the show. Today I've got Patrick Banc on. Patrick is a former coaching student of mine, as well as a general contractor, guy who sort of almost got fired from his job and then just decided to go all at it, burned all bridges behind him, and just one of those inspiring entrepreneurship stories. Patrick's a social butterfly, great networker, raiser of money, just an all-around entrepreneur, and he picked up on it really quick. So it's been fun watching him. And now today we had him on the show to tell his stories, share his perspective, where he's going, what he's done. And I think you're going to get a lot out of it. I really appreciate conversations like this. Just fun to have. So just before we jump in, as you know, if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to real estate investing, you might want to go back to those first 10 episodes, just, that foundational learning, initial concepts, because we speak at a higher level now, naturally. I'm almost 300 episodes in. I can't keep talking about the basics. So head back there, check those out, come back up to modern episodes and keep tuning in. And I would really appreciate it if you'd show the channel and also, whatever audio platform you listen on, some love, rating, reviews, 5 stars. Really appreciate it. Helps it grow. With that said, let's jump into the episode with Patrick. Please enjoy. Welcome back to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I've got Patrick Banc on the show, and Patrick and I go back a ways. Patrick, thanks for coming over.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Well, it's good that you came over. So Patrick, you've got a bit of an interesting story. One of the reasons I thought it'd be good to have you on is just to talk about the transition from working a job with a very stable government-funded job to going out on your own, starting your own thing, and intermixed with real estate investing. You're doing some flipping, and you're obviously going to give me the scoop. But can you just give the high level for anybody watching this? You've obviously never been on this podcast before. Tell them the story of you.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me on. So basically, my parents came here. I was born in Canada. My parents fled communist Poland. They came to Canada in 88 and 89, met each other here. And then my dad's a truck driver. Mom worked as a pharmacy assistant, and they bought pre-construction homes. And they always purchased pre-construction homes, and essentially they would buy a place, they'd make a bit of money, they'd do the floors, do a paint, do something, whatever, fix it up a bit, sell it, buy another pre-construction home. So they did that a bunch of times. And that's I was helping them do the renos because they weren't hiring anybody.
Yeah.
And then I have a brother as well who was helping as well. And then we did a full basement for them in one home. Then we did a basement apartment for them. And they sold that. And then I got into being a truck mechanic, a licensed trucking coach, technician. And while I was living at home, and then I was earning money, saving money, very minimal expenses. And then I managed to save my down payment for a first house. That house was $634,000, a townhouse in Brampton.
Yeah. How old were you when you bought that?
I was 22.
Yeah. Imagine buying your first house at 22. Most people can't fathom that. They just can't, right? They're just graduating university at that time. You're already into a house. Your wealth trajectory was already way ahead of most people.
Thank you. Yeah. So then I was living at home, renting out that house. And it was funny because the tenant that I rented it out to, a huge learning curve, but tenant that I rented it out to made more money that year than I did.
Oh, yeah?
And I was the landlord and she was the tenant. Yeah. So anyways, did that, rented it out, was living with my parents.
So you had no expenses. You're making
very little expenses.
Making the money off of the and more people should utilize that. Living with family as long as you can, until you're getting married, because then that's when you'll save the most money.
Yeah. Yeah. Like legit, if Lauren and I weren't married, if I wasn't married, which I love Lauren to death. Thank you, Jesus, for Lauren. That's my wife. If we weren't married though, I'd still be probably living at home, with my parents, and just kind of keep on
stacking the bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent up until my 30s, like living with family.
That's right.
Wasn't until 30. Like, I mean, I had, time, obviously went to university and then I was back and forth to London. But if I was here, like I wasn't going to pay rent in an apartment. I was just building up my rental portfolio and then, keeping the personal expenses low.
Yeah.
Which you'll hear that story over and over again as a path to success for people.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not sexy, but who cares about that?
But lifestyle creep is a real thing. And like the more money you make, the more money you spend. That's a real thing. But if you can contain that, like keep that to
lifestyle
a minimum.
creep. I never heard it called that, but yeah, that's very, very true. You just get used to whatever, right? Like during my renos, like I'd sleep on stacks of drywall.
Yeah, literally.
Actually.
Literally. Yeah, exactly.
At one time, it was in a house that did not yet have full insulation. It just had vapor barrier, and it was March, and it got real cold at night. And so I kept turning on the construction heater for like 10 minutes just to heat up the whole space, and then I'd turn it off, and then I'd freeze again. Yeah. There was a time where I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. I'll get a Motel 6, because I just didn't want to spend it, because I looked at it because I wasn't living in London. So I was just like, well, any dollar I spend affects the profitability of the project. So I'm not going to do it.
Literally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore, but it's like, you just get used to whatever. Like if you're used to, 5-star hotels, you get used to that and you'll never want a 4-star. And I'd rather not be in that position.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Granted, I like nice hotels, but there's the lifestyle creep.
Yeah. The lifestyle creep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So keep going with your story. Obviously we talked about, what you did to, spending your time single, living in your parents' place, Jesus saved you money. What was the next moves as far as investing goes and wealth building? Yeah.
So, Lauren and I got married. And then we got married. It was funny. So we got married January 25th, 2020, like right before all the COVID stuff. So we had like a normal wedding and all that and whatnot. So right before we got married, we moved into that townhouse that I first bought. And then that townhouse, we had to unfortunately evict the tenants. The tenants destroyed the place. It's a brand new pre-construct, like a new build that was just destroyed. Yeah. So we renovated it. I made a bunch of money there. Sold it. We put it on the market. So I think it was March the 17th. Don't quote me. I don't remember, but around there, the day people were running out to go get toilet paper, we put that house on the market.
Oh yeah.
And I was praying. Cause I've seen a few downturns, right? During that time, like before. And I was praying. So I was like, man, like I really hope it doesn't hit the wall. And, thank you, Jesus. It sold that morning. The same morning I put it up, it sold that same day.
So they came and saw it, or they just offered firm?
Yeah, they came, saw it, offered firm, and they took it.
Done deal.
Yeah, so and then we went on to do a few burrs, buy a few rental properties. Now we live in Georgetown, love it. And then I got to talking to you, and I asked Andrew to coach me. And thank you, Andrew, for coaching me. That really like people say like coaching changes your life, whatever, all this different stuff. But for real, like it really did. It changed my life.
Glad to hear that.
And I got a bunch of other mentors as well. And I always try and surround myself with positive people and positive thinkers and people who can help and people who I can help as well. Because it's not just about yourself. It's about trying to give back. So Andrew helped with getting me into the USA. I did with Andrew's help my first land development in USA, which is kind of interesting because I purchased that some land in what was it, August 2022 or something like that. And September 2022, a couple weeks later. It was brutal because they had the biggest hurricane in like 30, 40 years there, and it destroyed Cape Coral and Fort Myers in the Southwest Florida area. So permits went from being like a couple weeks to I was waiting well over a year for a permit.
Oh, really? It was that long just to get the permit?
Yeah, it was
a number of things, right? Your surveyors and all that stuff. Any updates? Like everybody was just slow. Yeah, that was horrible. Yeah. It happened right in the middle of a couple of my projects.
Yeah. And that's just real estate. Like things happen, like it's out of our control. but I learned so much. And anyways, I sold off that land. And now, so I bought a few rental properties, sold off that land. And then last year, 2023, my wife and I and my dad, we went to Florida to go check out more land, more builds, more flips, just more opportunity. Yeah. And we went to Florida, and
wasn't that your first time in Florida?
It was my first time in Florida. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So it was we bought the land sight unseen, and then we went to go check it out like a year later, and it was my first time in Florida. Me, my dad, my wife, and then I was posting on the gram. I still had a 9 to 5. I worked for the city of Brampton, and I guess some people didn't like that I was just calling in sick and just kind of doing my own thing.
You have a problem with authority, it would seem. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually don't really like being told what to do. I kind of like doing my own thing. Kind of like you.
That's funny, yeah. Yeah, I've always had a challenge just working a job, right? It was never something that I was that good with. So it was much better. I love working for clients, but working a job where they be here these hours, that's tough.
It's not my forte. Yeah.
So you got in a little bit of hot water with that. So, and I know you'd been talking, and one of the things that I said, and I say this to a lot of people, like, especially your job, because it was a more relaxed requirement in terms of your time.
Government job. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, don't quit that job. That job's like an asset to you right now. Like, it pays you good money.
And I'm
you got all this time, and then you wanted to quit it.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, Andrew, I paid you to teach me how to quit. I'm quitting.
Sometimes the first thing to do is to not quit. But it's just like, for most people, just abandoning that job isn't the answer. I feel like you jumped right into opportunity, and it wasn't like a thing for you, like where a lot of people would just fall on their face with that because they don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. But you already had little bits of it with having done your investment property, right? Like you've already, what it's like to go out on your own and risk it. Now, granted, the available time of 40 hours a week when you don't know how to fill that 40 hours, that's deadly. But you did a great job with that. I was pretty surprised.
Thank you.
Yeah. Not that I didn't think you could. It's just it's hard for anybody.
It's definitely not easy. It was honestly, it was one of the hardest things I've done because I came back from Florida with my wife and my dad. And there was this new manager, and he just he was at the company for forever, but they hired him as a manager. Yeah. So he wanted to like prove himself. So they sat me down and they were trying to fire me. They weren't going to fire me.
It's a union job,
yeah,
right? They knew it would be hairy, right?
Yeah.
They wanted you gone, basically.
Yeah, they were trying, right? They were trying. It's a bunch of meetings, and I've had meetings forever. But so, but at that meeting, I sat down and I was like, in my head, in the back of my mind, I was like, I know that I'm not coming back because after that meeting, I called in sick. I did what I had to do. I took time off, mental health, whatever, all that stuff. And I knew, like at that meeting, I was like, I'm not coming back. There's no chance that I'm going back to this job. I don't care how it is, what it is. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And once you tell yourself like you have to figure it out, you're going to figure it out. Yeah. That's it.
So and that's 100% true. And I don't recommend this, but I'll spell out the reality and I can't recommend it because there's certain people who will actually still fail. Like they'll burn every bridge behind them and still fail. But it's like this point of like rock bottom that you have no idea what you would do if you don't succeed at what you're trying to do. And I've been there. Sounds like you were sort of there. And I don't mean to call it rock bottom. It's not that way for everybody, but it's like
it's true.
The Napoleon Hill concept from the book Think and Grow Rich. He says, the path to success is you burn every bridge behind you.
Yeah.
And like for me, so when it happened for me, I was 2015. I had just finished my second teaching contract. I did it for 8 months and I wanted to go back to London. I kind of wasn't really happy with what I was doing, working the mortgages. Not that I couldn't be happy with that. I didn't like the way I was doing it. So I went back to London, living on my own, and I was tracking real estate. I wanted to get back into real estate and do it in a big way. And when that contract ended, I had still some credit card debt from some bad decisions early on. I had some investments go sideways, and I just went all in on flipping my first property. I wanted to actually keep it, but there was no way to realistically do that. But it was the fact that I knew there was nothing else I was going to do. I was there every single day. Man, I loved that. Like that was a lot of fun, sleeping in the house, like enjoying summer outside. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was profitable. And that was really the start of a very aggressive wealth building and portfolio building endeavor. While the times were good with real estate prices, still buying at 200 grand and, turning them into 600 grand.
In London?
Yeah.
Yeah, in London.
200. Yeah. It wasn't that long ago. I bought a house in 2015 for $105,000. Detached
What happened
house
in 2015?
Trudeau got elected.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you can really trace it. You really can trace it to when that thing got into office.
Yeah. Everything up until 2015 was going kind of slow and steady, I'd say. Like, I don't know, slower, steadier.
Well, Toronto was always its own thing. Like, it was always like crazy in the GTA. And I used to look at it with envy. I'm like, I talked to all these investors from Milton and, GTA, and they say, oh yeah, our property's gone up hundreds of thousands since I owned it. And I had bought a property in 11, a couple, and then it was like 2015, 2016. I'm listening to them and I'm like, mine have gone up like 10 grand. But I would actually go back to that. Like that to me, I think is better.
I would too. It's more predictable. It was easier to predict things almost in a sense, maybe. I don't know.
The predictability is all I wanted, right? Like what happened to me, and it scared the crap out of me, is in 2018, I took on a project and I finished it in 19, and the market saved me. It was the first project where the market saved me. Like I went in and I knew I could get a number, but my reno took and cost more than it should have. And if it hadn't been for that, the market going up, I would have lost money. And I looked at that and I'm like, whoa, I'm not doing that again. Like all it takes is for a shift in the market. Like that's not a sustainable investing strategy. Yeah. Like that's relying on speculation. That was what all the Toronto investors were doing. And I didn't want to do that. There's a place for that, but it's only in people who have, much more of the other. And then that's just a small piece of it. So that was where my investing trajectory just changed. And I went on pause, and then I, eventually bought the camp and the resort and did the Florida thing all at once. That was like, okay, enough sitting around. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
But enough about me. So we were talking about kind of, the strategy and the market saving and when real estate values were good. Knowing all that, like, tell me about your business now, what you're looking at for investing. Like, it sounds like flipping, you've acknowledged flipping, given your skill set, which I always said to you, you have the ability, you have the hands-on ability, you can make money flipping. Mm-hmm. Is that the primary income generator now, or is it the contracting and that?
Yeah. So my wife owns a massage therapy business. So we have income coming in there. She has massage therapists, chiropractors, mental health therapists, all that sort of thing. That's Sage Wellness Clinic. Free plug.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah.
And then, but for myself, when I left the city of Brampton, I started up a general contracting company. And I've always GC'd my own jobs. I've always GC'd jobs for my family and friends.
So you were handy. You had all the tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus your job was hands-on. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And my job was hands-on as well. But like I always had teams as well. Cause for my own properties, for friends and family's properties, I wasn't doing everything myself. At the very beginning. Yes. 100%. You're gritty. You're in there. You're doing everything. But eventually you build teams, and that's kind of what I did. But so I've already had some of the teams, and then now I've been expanding my teams and systems. So then I started up a general contracting company, got a few good contracts right out the gate. And then also I'm known, like I always post what I'm doing. I always talk about real estate on the gram. I always, in my circles at jiu-jitsu, everybody knows what I'm doing. So I heard about this deal, the last flip I just did. I heard about this deal through my network. They had this family had a problem where essentially the owner, he was like 92 years old. The owner of this condo slipped and fell, and he probably wasn't going to make it for very long. So they really had to either sell the condo or figure out what to do. So I told them, I said, hey guys, why don't one of the family member, I said, why don't one of you guys buy it? And then I'll help you flip it. I'll help you renovate it. I'll help you do everything. But they weren't going down that hole. They don't really like real estate. They don't understand how it works. And they were like, well, we just got to sell it and sell it fast. Then I said, okay, guys, well, I can come in with a cash offer. I can pay for all the legal costs, none of money out of your own pocket. There's going to be no realtors. It'll be off the market. I can close in like 2-3 weeks cash because I raised funds. So that's what we did. So
you get a smoking deal because
yeah. So essentially, if they were going to get like 370, 380 grand on the market, which was market price for a Toronto condo, the place was kind of rough, but it was a 3-bed, 1.5 bath, 1,200 square foot condo. And then I offered them 315. So they took it.
So that's an as is value. There was a renovated value beyond all that.
Yeah. Okay. So the ARV I was expecting was like high fives because the market was still going down in December.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not important. It's just some vibrate.
So the market was still going down in December. Yeah. So it was pretty risky. Like, this was a big purchase. I just quit my job. Like, I had no money really coming in. Well, I had a bit of money because of good contracts, but it was still risky. And they were happy. I was happy. And then I got in. Me and my team, we renovated it. I went on vacation while we were renovating it. That was awesome. Awesome experience.
You go on vacation a lot. The no kids effect helps.
Well, we have no kids. We do a lot of the credit card points. Basically, like the last year of travel was all credit card points.
Is that from the renos? Like you built them up? Or?
Renos, but I've also had some of these credit cards for over 10 years.
Yeah, I just never did it.
Yeah.
Okay,
The Aeroplan cards are the best. Message me. I'll teach you anything you like about them. As much as I know about them, I'm sure there's guys and girls that know a lot more. But but Lauren and I, we travel all the time. We go to Tyson's resort all the time. You know Tyson.
Yeah, I know him. He's never been on the podcast, although it would be good to have him on.
Yeah. So Tyson owns a resort in Curaçao, which we go to often. We get a discount. Flights are free because they're on credit card points. We just pay for our dinners.
Nice.
Anyways, so I was vacationing while general contracting this condo, and it turned out really well. It just sold like a week ago conditionally. It sold for $640,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was like 40 to 60K above my expectations.
In Toronto?
In Toronto.
Like Toronto proper or GTA?
Well, it's Victoria Park and 401. It's on the North York side, and Scarborough is on the other side.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, like statistically, Toronto's at like peak pricing right now. Toronto proper, right? The rest of Canada is all over, like, some down 20%, what have you. But Toronto stayed pretty strong.
Yeah.
So you were a beneficiary of that. So you made, you bought for $315?
$315.
How much in?
So I put about, call it 70 grand in renos.
So you're almost
That's
in for
my
four.
cost.
So you're almost in for 4 then.
Yeah, close to 4.
Yeah.
But I borrowed all the money. So hold on, 315, 70 grand, property tax, all the different stuff.
315, 70 is 385. And then, so you add another 15 for carrying or more?
Oh, I'd say more.
So you're at like 415 all in?
Yeah, I would say like 415 all in. But mind you, I still have bills to pay. So I borrowed like 252 at 80% loan to value from a private lender at like 11%.
Nice.
Then I borrowed another 200 grand
For down payment and reno?
for everything. Down payment, reno, to live, to just in case fund, whatever. So basically I borrowed like 450 grand. And funny enough, I raised the money through Instagram.
Interesting.
Through Instagram, which is awesome. And so then I'm in for 452. I sold for 640. Still conditional. We're just waiting to hear back today. You're looking about,
after realtor costs, probably like 6 or 180 left over?
Yeah, about 180, 190. Well, around there. Yeah. Because I didn't use the full 200 anyways, but just in case. Yeah.
Yeah. Profitability wise, you're higher.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. It was a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, although you borrowed more, your costs, your profitability statement on it would be, you're over 200,000 probably. That's pretty solid for a day's work. But I mean, one of the cool things
wasn't just a day.
Yeah. But did you contract it out?
Yes.
So how did you do it? Talk through, because a lot of people can't wrap their head around that. Like, are you hiring a GC, or are you the GC and you're quarterbacking everything?
So Limitless Contracting is my contracting company. I'm the general contractor. We have teams, we have processes and systems, and I hire guys and sub trades to do probably like 90, depending on the job. Yeah. What I don't want to do, I hire out. What I do want to do.
What stuff do you like doing?
So at the very beginning, I want to go in there. I want to order everything. I ordered all the floor, all the materials. That's all
So you just do all that, buy it on the credit cards or whatever?
Yeah, get the credit card points and fly to Curaçao or wherever.
That's a good plan.
And then also I did the demolition because I like doing demolition. It's just kind of fun to smash a hammer around.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
Yeah. So I hired a couple friends, my brother and my dad. My brother's also a general contractor out of London. So I hired them as well. So we did the demo. And then for the rest of it, I hired out everything. Floors, drywall, kitchens, bathrooms.
All the rough-ins.
Rough-ins, plumbing, electrical, literally everything I hired out. And I managed from afar because I'm not driving from Georgetown to North York every single day. I'm not driving across the 401.
Well, plus you had jobs down here in Burlington too, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing that. So what do you do to keep tabs? Are they taking photos? Do you have cameras on site? Like what's your process?
Yeah. So day one of the job, cameras go up, blink cameras, and they're really good because then I can just check the blink camera. Hey, so-and-so said that they're going to drop off the materials of the flooring. I'm not driving to Burlington or North York from Georgetown. That's an hour one way just to check if somebody dropped off materials.
So you have cameras outside and inside?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So outside, inside cameras. And then day one, usually a bunch of the material arrives. You're in there ordering, or the bin's already there. You do the demo. And then your guys are there like a few days or a few weeks before because they've already quoted you. They already know what they're going to do. They know roughly the timelines within about a week of when they're going to be in versus when they're going to be done. And then the next trade comes in. And it's really, really, really a lot of people management. Be very nice to people. Be very firm. Very, very firm. But be very nice to people. People will take care of you, especially if you take care of them.
Yeah, firm and fair.
Yeah, firm and fair. Like, I'm a trades guy. Like, I get it. If some shit happens, things happen.
Well, I always boil it down to reasonable. Anybody I have just dispute, and I've had some hostile situations. So I'm like, look, I'm reasonable. Let's come up with what's a reasonable solution here because I'm reasonable. Are you willing to be reasonable? And it's hard for people to say they're not willing to be reasonable. Yeah. Okay. You can talk through almost anything when you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think people make too much out of these perceived hostile situations. I mean, some people downright do act unreasonable, but the second you bring up, I'm willing to be reasonable, it's like it changes the tone. Oh, okay. Like, let's just work through a reasonable solution here. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I had it happen in a few different ways, but we can get into that. So anyways, continue with your story. So you've worked with people, been very reasonable with them. I feel like you're very... First off, you're very out there. Like you share your story. You network well with people. Like everybody knows you.
I try my best.
Jake's over there. Jake's like, oh, I was talking to Patrick the other day. I'm like, I didn't know you two talk to each other.
He helped actually with my wife's contract. We were running into a bit of a thing, but he helped. And Jake is an awesome dude. Yeah, he's very knowledgeable.
So Jake Campanera, the guy that co-hosts REI Hot Seat with me, is who Patrick's talking about.
Thank you, Jake. We're just looking at him over there.
Yeah, he can't tell. We're just creeping on him right now through the glass window here. So, so you've gotten yourself out there a bunch, which of course helps for getting contracts, for getting lenders, finding out about projects. Yeah, because you're talking to people about what you're doing. 24/7. You're enthusiastic about it, and it just goes a long way. I quite frankly need to take a lesson from you on being more out there on my Instagram and more out there with my life, because I just generally don't, but I should.
I don't know. It's pretty good, but
it's good. So that helps for business building. Like my hat's off to you for how quickly you were telling me, hey, I've got a contract to do this house, working on another one. That was right out of the gate.
Yeah, literally like within 2 weeks. But during that, right after that meeting, I literally spent every waking hour either A, working out, B, hanging out with my wife and building a plan forward, and C, praying, and D, going to every single real estate networking event, including yours, and anything I could find, and letting people know what I'm doing and that I'm available and that I'm out there. And
just consistency. That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
trying.
So what's the path forward as far as wealth building goes? Like what's your plan? Like, what are you thinking in 5 years? Are you thinking buying rental properties here? Is it just the flips? Are you thinking about buying rental properties in another country? Like what do you see?
Yeah. So honestly, Canada is just going down a path that I don't really like. I really hope it changes. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to wait for it to change. A lot of people are kind of in the same boat. But I'm the kind of person that I take action. My wife takes action. Andrew takes action. A lot of the people around us, we all take action. So I'm going to go where I'm treated best. And whether that's Curaçao, whether that's the States, I already have everything set up in the States. Just sold land in the States, going to buy some more, not land, sorry, but real estate.
Properties.
Yeah. Cameron Griffith, who is also on your show a little while back.
A couple times,
Yeah, a couple times back. Cameron and Summer, they're married, and Lauren and I were going to go visit Cam and Summer down in Texas in 2 days from now. And we're starting up a flipping business, so potentially here. But honestly, more so in the States, I think. And ideally, I'd like to work towards an E2 visa in the States. And I think that's kind of my path forward is we're going to be flipping more than likely in the States. If there's some deals here, yes, 100% I'll take them if there's profitability in them. I put out an offer on Sunday. I was at a jiu-jitsu competition.
So you're finding out about this at jiu-jitsu?
No. I
just happened to be there.
ATVing for dollars. I tagged you in the story like a couple days ago. Okay. ATVing for dollars, and I found this house. I called my buddy Tyson as a realtor. He showed me the place. We walked through it. I'm like, okay, let's offer on it. And I just signed the offer at the jiu-jitsu competition.
Was this in London?
No, this was near Mount Forest, so near where my parents live. Yeah.
Tyson is a realtor up there. Is this Tyson George?
This is Tyson George. Yeah. I guess so. I don't really know where his boundaries go. Yeah. But
well, you can sell. I guess it's just a matter of which board
boards you buy
because otherwise
into.
It's hard to transact outside. But now I believe in Ontario, like as long as you're outside of the Toronto board, all the others are connected now, so you can see the properties and sales and all that stuff. So that must be why. So it works for him.
But this is why we hire professionals, because I'm not a realtor, so I don't know.
So you found that property. He found the owner. It wasn't listed.
No, it was. I found the property. It was listed, but it's like really bad.
So it was really rough, and you figured
really rough.
See, you always you can write your own ticket when you're able to do rentals, because other people look at it, that's too much work. They immediately disqualify the property. So now it's a hairy deal to anybody else. To you, you're like, oh, I could do that. I can do that. I got the team.
Yeah.
And you got guys that'll go up there?
Yeah, 100%.
And where did you find all these guys?
So some people I've just kept relationships with people over the years because I've done a bunch of rental properties for myself, for my friends, for my family. I own rental properties. This isn't my first project. So you keep, like, I have probably about 800 contacts in my phone. I keep,
you just go through them, text
everybody's number. And I'll put, Mike, drywall, whatever. And hey, if I'm looking for drywall, if I put drywall on my phone, I probably have like 3 or 4 guys I can at least call and see. And
lesson I learned on that. So I did the same thing, keep everybody. And I had like this Mike roofer in my phone, and I had disqualified him numerous times before because he didn't have proper insurance, like WSIB. And then one time I got in a pinch and my contractor couldn't do it. I had to find somebody else. And he was in my phone. I was just searching roofing. A whole bunch came up and he was the next on the list. So I'm like, hey, you still do roofs? Yeah, I can start next week. Comes.
Perfect.
Destroys all my shingles. Like we literally had to rip off the entire roof. He wasted all the shingles. I didn't pay him, but I'm like, okay, so how do you want to work this out? Because you just cost me like a couple $1,000s. He's like, well, my lawyer will be in touch. I never pursued him. I should have sued him, but he cost me like $2,500. But my point is, put do not call to the ones you disqualify. Keep them in your phone, but put do not call or do not ever hire.
Or what I do sometimes too, and what other people do, I learned this from somebody else, I don't remember, but they'll be like, okay, Mike drywall, Tyler drywall, and so drywall. And then you put like number 1, number 2, number 3, and then...
So it's like a ranking?
Yeah, kind of. And it's like, okay, if the first guy can't do it, the second guy can't do it, then let's use the third guy.
Interestingly, and I don't know if you found this, but I find roofing is probably the single most commonly screwed up trade. Like, because the roofers can hide if they're doing a bad job. You won't find out until later when the shingles start blowing off. They nailed it in the wrong spots. I don't know what it is. It's the easiest of all the jobs, pretty much. I've roofed. But it's probably because of the quality of the people who take on that job a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's pretty low. It's a lot of strange and
fly
interesting
by night
people.
Fly by night. I've seen a lot of drug usage and stuff like that in that trade. It just seems to have that type of people, and it's unfortunate. But
tons.
So you got to be very careful when picking your roofers. Pick a reputable roofing company that's got a long-standing reviews. Like I would rather pay the WSIB, because ones that work for homeowners, I guess somehow they didn't need WSIB because the homeowners policy would cover. But if they're working for an investor, they needed it. I would pay this guy's WSIB for him because he was so good. And I just didn't want to risk it with anybody else.
Nice.
So you just got to pick. Anyways, we're going tangent, but I thought it was valuable. So
but you always do, and the show is great. I really love it.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the point. This show, it's like very unique, right? Like, it's my flavor. You come here, I'll ask questions. I'll go on tangents. So Curaçao, why would it be Curaçao? I mean, why did Tyson end up buying there? Like, give me the backstory on that.
So Tyson ended up buying there. It's kind of an interesting story.
Is he a partner on it first? Like he's with other people, or no?
No. So Tyson and his family, Tyson and his parents, they own rental properties separately, and maybe some together, but mainly separately. Anyways, Tyson runs his own business. His family, his parents, run their own business. Tyson is kind of like an anomaly kid. He's like I say kid.
Yeah, because he started when he was like 16. He's known
15.
for that. 15.
Yeah.
So he bought his first at 15.
Bought his first house at 15.
Yeah.
He found his own deal. Like this kid, like it sounds like, oh, it's all his parents. No. Believe me, it's not his parents.
Whiz kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So he finds his own deal. He was saving money. He was going door to door sales at like 12 years old.
That's amazing.
Him and his grandfather were going to garage sales. Shout out to Dewey. Dewey is his grandpa. I loved Dewey. He's an awesome dude.
Awesome.
But anyways, his grandpa was teaching him how to do like door-to-door sales, garage sales. And then they would buy and sell stuff. Like they would go to London, Western University, because they live in London.
Yeah, you would pick up all the old furniture.
So he'd go there in whenever the university students leave, end of April.
We just passed that time, yeah.
Yeah, they'd go there with a truck and a trailer, pick up all the students' old furniture, store it in Dewey's garage, and then sell it back to kids on Kijiji in
September?
August, September.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's absolutely brilliant. I heard Ryan Pineda used to do that too, if anybody knows who that is. So that's like that kind of hustle. I just love hearing stories like that. Yeah. You just got to be focused, right? You can't have a million things going on if you're doing that kind of thing. Like you have a few key strategies.
Well, the kid was like 12, 14, 13
like
years
I kind of still want to do that. It's just like,
it's just fun.
I was just so busy with other things that the end of April passed. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the challenge actually with this podcast is like just doing all this. It's like it's a significant chunk of my week, even though I don't do any of the editing and stuff. It's like you got to prioritize stuff. And anyways, different story, but
anyway, so back to how Tyson got into Curaçao was he found people that were also investing in Curaçao. He learned from them. Part of it anyways, because he obviously did his own due diligence. He's a smart dude. And he got connected with the right mentors and coaches and kind of figured it out a lot on his own as well. Got got connected with important people on the island and people that would help him navigate certain laws and how to get into the country and taxes and whatnot. And they're very, very helpful if you're very, like if you're sophisticated as well, if they see that you're actually serious.
You're saying the government people are helpful?
Yeah. Which is actually kind of hilarious because they're not super helpful maybe here, but
yeah. Well, so Curaçao, if I'm not mistaken, is a Dutch territory. So it's
island,
controlled by Netherlands. Is it considered just a territory, or is it part of the country? You don't know.
I don't know.
Is he paying taxes to the Dutch government?
He's paying a bit of tax to the Curaçao government, but I don't really know how that
all works.
All their structure works.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just, I liked Curaçao. Well, we've been there a bunch of times now, but I really like Curaçao because it's such a laid back place. There's opportunity there too. I believe your friend, oh man, the realtor guy, what's his name? The partner on the campground. Didn't he go to Curaçao as well?
Oh, probably Zach.
Yeah, Zach. Yeah, sorry, Zach.
Where hasn't Zach been though?
Yeah, Zach's been everywhere too. Yeah. So that's how Tyson got in, and then he bought a bunch of units off of like a developer on the island. Used to be a developer for forever, and then his kids owned a bunch of units. So now the kids were selling off some of the units. So originally they wanted to buy like one or two, but then they ended up buying 10 of them, which was kind of cool. So yeah.
So Tyson's an owner of 10 resort units?
Yeah, and then they sold a bunch, and then now they bought a resort, and then they built this resort, renovated this resort, and now they're running Meraki Curaçao, which is a really beautiful place. You guys should go check it out. And so they bought Meraki Curaçao, which is that resort, and that one is, I don't remember how many units, between 30 and 40. And they bought an abandoned place, and they put a bunch of time and money into it, hired a general contractor down there, and now they're running a resort down there, which is really cool.
So he's running it all remote, because you said he's a realtor here.
Yes. Yeah. So they're running it remote. They have teams and employees and systems down there as well. And there's more units to potentially be developed as well down there, like on that resort property, which is really cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Is it, like, what's viable down there? Is it being a resort owner? Is it viable to own regular rentals? Have you looked into that yet?
I've never looked into regular rentals, but I've looked into the flips. You can do flips. You can obviously own short-term rentals or resorts and stuff like that, because it's obviously a very warm place. It's like 30 degrees.
Can you get lending?
Yeah, you can get lending down there. It's like really cool.
I'd love to learn more about it.
Yeah, don't quote me on the loan to value, but I think it was something like 70 to 80%, which is pretty decent.
I'm sure it'd be restricted, for a Canadian. Yeah. And I wonder, there must be a tax treaty probably with Canada. That's all stuff to figure out.
Yeah.
Be great if it was a tax haven, get some residency down there.
But honestly, guys, like, you can talk about Curaçao. You can do this in a lot of places in the world too. It doesn't have to be, Curaçao is the main spot. No,
I think it's a very common thing right now. And I just saw this. You posted about it actually, but other people posted it too. is that Justin Trudeau is proposing to do a $25,000 exit tax for anybody who wants to give up their tax residency in Canada, and then in addition to doubling the existing tax, which I don't know how much or what that is exactly. Yeah. But I do know from conversations with the accountant is that, like, any assets you own in Canada, you would have to realize the gain on them if you wanted to give up your residency. So there'd be a big out of pocket. So there's already a pretty significant deterrent to leaving. And I just thought that was really funny because the theme is like, that's like an abusive relationship. Like a husband's like, you can't leave me, I'll freeze your bank account, or you can't leave me with what money?
Literally.
So
they already did freeze bank accounts. Don't you remember?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, it's humorous. I've yet to make my funny reel. I'm going to make a funny reel about that. Stay tuned. But, because I don't like doing despair posting, although they get tons of traction. I like humorous, because if I'm gonna post about the situation in Canada, we're all just gonna get bummed out. It's there's plenty to be grateful about. Don't get me wrong. So, but I, like you, will go where I'm treated best. Happily would leave. And circling back around to why I brought that whole thing up about the exit tax and whatever, you think $25,000 is going to stop people who are ready to leave the country?
I won't pay it. I don't think. Like,
well,
I couldn't see
because I know
myself
somebody
ever
else.
paying it.
I met somebody who went to Costa Rica. They chose to move because the CRA did something that they thought was unfair. So they're like, F you. They moved to Costa Rica,
right.
never paid the amount. Eventually the CRA forgave it and like undid it, but they're just like, we're good. We live in Costa. We pay 25% tax rate, we
That's
don't need
fine.
to come
Not
back.
66%.
Well, see, it's not 66% rate, but it's 66% taxable at the prevailing rate, whatever you're at.
Yeah.
But the thing in Canada is, you sell a couple of investment properties, you're in the top bracket and you're getting hammered, for even at the existing at 25% of the gain. So if you want, this is like, life savings and like investments to grow, and now you're getting cut off. It's not ideal. Like, that's why in the States it's great. So in my ideal, and this isn't like a perfect scenario, but it's better than the current, would be a resident in like a state that has no state tax. Now you can do 1031 exchanges. You can roll your investments into new investments, pay no tax as long as you're reinvesting the capital. And then you can, you won't have health insurance in Canada. That's the downside. You can be in Canada for 6 months, less a day, no health insurance. So pay private health insurance and no longer be taxed.
Thank you.
In this way. That's just thinking out loud, not advice. That's kind of what's been rolling around in my brain a little bit about the path forward, because I still like being up here. I mean, geographically, it's beautiful. My family's in and around. They're all over the country, but they're here. Yeah. So I want to be able to come here, but it's tough to see myself right now sticking around for much longer. We'll see. I don't have any immediately plans to leave, but I don't think you do either. But it's definitely on the table.
I don't know. We'll see. Well, like, we're going to Texas in a couple of days, in 2 days.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. And to be honest, I don't have like immediate plans. I'm leaving and never coming back. Yeah. But I'm going to go where I'm treated best. And if that's not here, then I'm leaving somewhere.
So Texas is another zero income tax state.
Yeah.
They still have the federal portion, but not the state portion. So but I mean, in any of those states, you're going to find the same thing. Property taxes are through the roof because, they got to pay for things, for all the roads and all that stuff. So, but I'd still take that over, because I heard stories about people moving to Florida and like tech and stuff, and maybe you'll make the same salary. So somebody making $250 here in tech goes down there, makes $250. They're paying half the tax down there. And then, the US dollar is going further still. Although I will say in Florida, it's expensive to eat and stuff. Like food's expensive, but there's a lot of different ways you could do it.
I just like the fact that, in my opinion, it's just not so woke down there. Like, honestly,
people are happy.
Like,
we were just talking about this. People are happy. Like in Florida, like the average person you speak with will be happier than the average person here.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah. I mean, I can guess. But
sunshine, warm weather,
helps.
less taxes.
There's a lot of
They're
things
not freezing my bank account.
They definitely are a little more spiritual in terms of like they have faith. Like they're, there's a lot that I like about it too, but not that I like, because I never want to be one of those ones that says you can't make money here, because you definitely can.
100%.
Like, we're still doing business in Ontario.
100% you can.
We've got 2 resorts in Ontario. Like, we're still doing business here, and I'm glad that I'm away from the residential tenancy board and all that stuff. But there's still a path forward here too, and not everybody needs to go. It's just there's options, and being flexible is great.
If somebody puts up a wall, we're going through it, we're going around it, under it, over it.
Like you just crushed and did a great deal, right? Like the big thing is, and you talk to any accountant, and you say, what's the number one thing in common with your wealthiest clients? And they'll say real estate, owning it and holding it long term. So that's what I want to get back to, right? Like, so we've got these resorts. I want to redeploy and get into long term hold real estate, because that's where the wealth is truly generated. Being able to sit, being able to wait. It's not overnight. It's what do they say? It's not timing the market. It's time in the market.
Yeah. Eventually, like a long-term, maybe a 5-year goal would be to buy some buildings, bigger multifamily units. I don't know if I quite see myself doing that in Canada anymore. I definitely think I'd be doing it in the States. But yeah, 100%. That's the goal, is bigger buildings, long-term tenants, long-term wealth. Yeah.
And from conversations I've had with American brokers, if you're over $1 million, you can get their government programs. So they call them agency loans, basically equivalent to CMHC insured. And if you do that over $1 million, you get the same treatment as an American, even being a Canadian. So that's what I've been told. I haven't done it, so can't confirm, but
yeah,
I mean, I have every reason to believe that's true from what I've seen. So definitely some options. So I had some questions here for you. You're the guinea pig. So I was talking with my editor, and we were saying, well, we should have a segment that we ask a question. So, all right. So what are the biggest 3 pieces of advice you would give to yourself if you were just starting the journey in, well, I guess it'd be contracting and flipping? Why don't you start with that?
The biggest pieces of advice that I would give myself is faith, family, and fitness, because then the finances are going to follow. What I mean by that is I have faith. I believe in God. And I'm very disciplined, I think, and I try to be very disciplined. And in order to be successful in anything, you have to be disciplined. So then that keeps us, or brings us to the next option or next thing, which is family. So you have to surround yourself with very good people. Surround yourself with positive people who help you, who support you. Like, dude, I went from making $130,000 a year at the city of Brampton to being technically unemployed. And most people's wives, we have a mortgage, multiple mortgages, loans, this, that. Most people's spouses would be like, go back to work, you're crazy. You know what I mean? But like, my wife, she owns her own business too. So like, she gets it. She's like, okay, yeah, like, you'll figure it out. Don't worry. Just do your thing. And so support, like having that support. My parents, my brother, my sister, they're very, very supportive. God bless you guys too. And then, so I said faith, family, and fitness. And fitness, so like when I see successful people, a lot of successful people are very fit. They're very strong. They go to the gym. They're very motivated. Or they bike, or they do jujitsu, or they train something. Like, you don't have to necessarily lift weights, but just train something, right? Be good at tennis or skiing or something.
Yep.
And then you're committed. And then that's really what helps me stay focused and disciplined. And yeah. Oh, and obviously podcasts and coaches and stuff.
Getting your education in.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. You kind of answered the second part of that, which was how it made a difference. And you sort of already described that. So yeah. Cause I think it's like getting the rest in order, like even fitness, like releasing good hormones in your brain, helping you keep focused, helping you sleep better. And then also the psychological effect of knowing that you're disciplined. That has like a snowball effect in the life. Knowing that you can stay disciplined is a huge confidence builder.
Yeah. Like, I signed up. So this year I said that I was going to do 12 jiu-jitsu competitions, which is kind of scary. Like, I saw one of my coaches do it last year and I was like, wow, like this guy's crazy. Like, he's so good. Like, it's just really cool. And then I said I was going to do it. And I think I'm on the trajectory to do more than 12. And I probably will do more than 12, but we have like an 80-20 rule, or 80% of the time we're disciplined, 20% of the time, whatever, have a bit of McDonald's or something every now and then, whatever. But when you're signed up for competitions, or when you have a certain goal in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm not going to drink this beer because that's going to give the other guy an edge. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go to sleep early because that's going to give me an edge. I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to take care of my mind. I'm going to take care of my family, because guess what? That's going to give us an edge. And that's,
it's interesting. Like it's how you define it to yourself then. Like, I'm in competition mode or something like, so you are congruent with somebody who identifies as being in competition mode. Like for me, like I wanted to cut back on the drinking to like near nothing. So I just said, I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And occasionally I will have a beer if we're at an event where that happens. But now on a nightly basis, I used to do it all the time, a beer with dinner or whatever, just stopped, because I don't drink anymore. I just say that to myself. Yeah, I don't drink anymore.
Words have power.
It really does.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference. Like you just changed your identity, not the way we're, the people out there.
Yeah, we're not doing that one.
Not that kind of thing, but you can see how that spirals. But you
Hey,
just,
but the government will pay you to change your.
yeah, I don't even go there. Not even going there. All right. So, but just power, like identify as that disciplined person and you'll see things happen. I find that interesting. Thought I'd share that. Okay. So next question for you is, what's the wackiest, most bizarre, most outrageous story that happened to you in your investment journey? And please share.
Probably my first one. It was interesting. So that townhouse that I bought, the lady told me that she was a single mother. She was a nurse. She was making more than me at the time. And she said that she had 2 or 3 daughters. I don't remember. 3 daughters, whatever. And they were all in university. And they were only going to live with her in the summertime. And I think that story might have been true like 10 years prior to her telling me that story. Because literally, as soon as they moved in, there was 4 adults in there. So the mom and the 3 daughters. And then 3 of the daughters' boyfriends or husbands or whoever all came in as well. And like their kids and their family members and their nieces and nephews. And anyways, in total, there was 14 people living in a townhouse, an 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom townhouse.
Yeah.
3 children, like, I don't remember, like 8 and under, something like that. And the rest were all adults, like 11 adults.
So you had too many people in the house.
Way too many people in the house. House got destroyed. But I learned so much, and that really... Now we have tenant like screening processes, and
everybody learns those lessons
from the mistakes. Man. Like you don't learn from your wins. You don't learn anything when you win. It's
a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point, man. I got a lot of learning then.
Yeah, like
but I didn't even like get emotional about it anymore.
No,
like I just had a seller or a buyer not close on a lot that I had tied up for 2 months. Was giving him seller financing and everything. It was my last lot in Florida, in Cape Coral, and. The guy just calls up the realtor the day of. I've already paid $200 to the notary to sign everything just that morning. Yeah, I kind of just, changed my mind. Not going to close anymore. And I'm like, okay, what else we got going on today? Like, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah, it's just move on. It's just
part of business. Like,
honestly.
It's so funny. Like, people think like a firm deal is a firm deal. Like, no. I don't think like that. Like, no. I mean, it is legally, but stuff happens all the time. Yeah. Like, I've had so many deals that stuff's happened. So you just roll with it in your business, and you learn. Like, you learn from the tenant stuff. Man, those are the probably the highest stress causing the bad tenant situations. So it's great to pad your account so you're ready for it, and do a number of other things like really good screening, which you've learned. You've learned, I'm sure.
Have to.
Okay, so anything else you would want to share that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you to anybody who's listening, because I super appreciate it. I was a listener on the podcast. I still am. And I really only started to get super serious about real estate like 4 or 5 years ago. I just want to say anybody can do this. Really, anybody can do it. I learned a ton from podcasts. I learned a ton from Andrew Hines' podcast. I learned a ton from Sarah Larby's podcast and Gary Hibbert's podcast and a bunch of others. And if you put in the time and effort into something, 100%, it will come into fruition eventually. Like you just got to figure it out.
Putting those chips on the table.
Yeah. You just got to, go for it. Go for it and surround yourself with good people. Shout out to Samson Brown, because I know he's listening. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Where do people follow you and learn more?
Okay. So my Instagram, the best place to reach me is my Instagram. I'm most active on there. Is my personal one is at Investor Patrick Banc. That's BANC. And then my general contracting brand is at the Limitless Contracting. And then my wife's massage therapy business is at Sage Wellness Clinic. And those are probably the best places to reach us.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial family. It's great.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, it's been fun watching you do your thing, and I'm sure you're going to have plenty more success as you go. So keep it up, man, and come back on and tell more stories.
Super appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Thank you.